In the last video, in the first masterclass, we had two fields that will show us the sum of the invoices that are in to pay and in accepted. I say add field and, for example, sum in to pay. Let's say it's a number here, but that's not fundamental. It will be disabled, it's editing. We disable everything. And we say we're going to put this thing in the header. We'll make it 150 wide. Sum in to pay. That's it. There is no logging here. No values will be written to this field. Because, look, now, when we put, for example, $145 here, that information is written to the database. When we're going to count the total by field now, we want to. That's going to be reference information. We don't want it to be recorded in the database. For several reasons. Because, for example, the header here in a simple table counts up to the row part. There's an idea like the order in which the fields are calculated. More about this in the tutorial. This is the second very large and complex post on which Totem stands. You should study it carefully. And what is the complexity here? The values in the header are calculated before the values in the line part are calculated. We either have to do an additional recalculation of the header for every change in the line part, which is not very cool from the load point of view, or we just want to show the mapping. That's what we did in formatting colors and so on. And the formatting counts after the value of all the fields have been counted and even the actions have already been performed. We didn't look at actions in this video. Anyway, somehow it turned out to be unnecessary. And it is through formatting that we will count the display of these fields. We're going to add one more field. This is going to be, as we have it called, sum in accepted. There you go. This will also be number 150. Okay. Nothing editable, no logging. Save. And here, so they're not such a brick, we'll make them a section like this. We'll say this is the information itself. The first line is always reserved for the title. So if we save, we'll see this thing right here, and we can collapse it like this. When there's a title, you can collapse it. And here we'll do what? We'll say block num1. We're going to tell all the fields to be in a block like this. And we can spread them apart from each other. We'll copy the name of the second field. We'll say, the name of the second field. It's separated by a colon here. These are called sections. And you can find about sections in the documentation. There's a search in the documentation. You type in sections and see what's there. And, for example, let's put 50 here in pixels, so that they are wider. I'd like to make the margins a little bit wider here. You can do it like this, not to go into the settings, but to say that the width of the field by default should be set to, let's say, 200. Because if you do it like this, it will be applied only for the browser, and by default it will be written to the settings. And now what are we doing here? We have sum in to pay. We're not saying code, we're saying formatting code. We say set format, and the parameter here is text. Text is what we're going to count. Let's calc. We're going to calculate the next sheet sum. Here we're going to take a list. To understand what I'm doing here, please study the tutorial, the basic part about codes. Just watch a couple of videos. You will immediately understand what I am doing here, because it will take a long time to explain the codes here. Let's take the select list that we're going to add up. We take it from the current table, from the sum field, sum, where to pay equals true. The order doesn't matter to us, but where and what we have there. How we did this field, technical paid true equals false. It hasn't been paid yet. Okay, let's see what happened. Nothing happened because there's nothing in to pay. Here we put something in to pay, And here we got 145. How does that not look good because we want it to be like that dollar, 145, colon, and so on. Let's format it. Here we'll do, let's say it's an amount. And in Calc already we'll do the num format. And here we're going to transfer the sum here. And we say that we will have 2 decimal places. We'll make an American version, as we have in this base. Separation of thousandths by a comma. We don't need unit type, it's after. We need a prefix. Here we'll have dollar space, like this. Let's see, here it will be 145, we have it in to pay. Just like that, it's automatically 345. So let's do the same thing in sum accepted. And we just copy that. We go here. We put the same conditional self-mottage in here. The only thing we need to replace to pay here with accepted. And that's why we need the prefix, because there is one accepted, and there is Florida accepted. And we thus know which one is in the lowercase part and which one is in the prefiler. Sometimes you can change the field to prefilter like this, but the name remains the same. This is a bad practice. If you both created the field in the wrong place and moved it so you don't have to delete it, replace it. I showed how to change the name while still in development. Well, accepted here we have 145. For example, if the accountant here paid the 26th of the month, that's it. The invoice is out of sight. That's how it works. I think it's very cool. And we have one main line. It's based on a simple table. When do you use simple tables? When you don't have an infinite number of fields. The limit is somewhere around 30 fields horizontally for a table. If you have more, or if you have rows, each of which must contain nested rows, only then instead of a simple table you will use a table of cycles, where you can fall into each row, and there will still be a set of fields, tables. But about this will be in the next master class. And so, thank you for your attention and have a nice use, cool projects. Bye bye. For those of you who made it to the end, a little bonus. See, when we go to a section, by default it asks us to select a table, and we'd like it to go straight to the table we want. This is done here. Here we have a section selected. We say edit it, and we select the table we want to go to here. Thus, we go to the master classes and immediately get to the table we need. But that's not all. We can assign for a role. For example, for user, we can assign the table to favorite. Then when he goes to the master from here, it will shine in his favorites, and he can manage that himself. But the next point is this kind of story, so that when he logs in, he would immediately, if we have a solution from one table, he would immediately get into it. Or we have some very central table, and he would go straight to this table. This is done as follows. We go in the system table, in the role, and right here for the role we have this thing called redirect table, and we assign this table here with bills. And TTM manager, director, accountant, we also make a table with bills. Here it is. Oops, that's how group assignment is done. Now to demonstrate this to me, I need to log out of admin, because if I just switch, this thing won't work because I'm still in the admin role, just with special permissions. And here, when the user logs in as TM1 user, here he is, and there's some password I've created for him. He'll go straight to this table of accounts, so he doesn't have to make any extra movements on the system here. That's how it is. Thank you for your attention.